The Galactic Employment Center on Station Kepler 7 smelled of ozone and desperation. Akim stood in line with the other displaced workers, her thick frame drawing the usual stares. In a galaxy where most species were slender and efficient, humans like her were considered undesirable. Next, droned the placement officer. Barely looking up from his datapad, Akim approached the counter, her worn uniform clean but faded. "I'm here for the domestic placement listing. Reference number 7734B. The officer's antennae twitched as he scanned her file. "You're human." The employer specifically requested. "I know what they requested," Akim interrupted softly. "But I have experience. 5 years with the Andromedan Diplomatic Corps. 2 years with the position has been filled." The officer's voice was flat, final. It was always the same. Nobody wanted a fat alien. In the employment queues, the sleek Andromedans got picked first, then the graceful Centaurians. Humans, especially ones built like Akim, were last, if at all. She turned to leave when a commotion erupted near the entrance. A tall human man burst through the doors, a bundle in his arms, wailing with the distinctive cry of a hungry infant. His hair was disheveled, his eyes wild with exhaustion. "Please," Harry gasped to the nearest officer. "I need help. I need someone who can—" The alien officer recoiled from the screaming bundle. "Sir, you cannot bring unregulated offspring into this facility. There are protocols." "Protocols?" Harry's laugh was edged with hysteria. "My wife died 3 weeks ago. I've been through 16 caregivers. None of them can feed her. She needs—" His voice cracked. "She needs breast milk. Human breast milk. The synthesizers can't replicate it properly. She's losing weight." Akim froze. Every maternal instinct in her body awakened. The baby's cries intensified, a sound that seemed to physically pain the non-human workers in the facility. They backed away as if the child carried a plague. "Sir, we cannot help you with this matter," the officer said, already retreating. "Perhaps the medical—" "I've tried medical," Harry shouted. "They said to find a wet nurse. But nobody—" "I can help." The words left Akim's mouth before she could stop them. Every eye in the facility turned to her. Harry stared at her, hope and skepticism warring on his face. "You can?" Akim walked toward him, her movements calm despite her racing heart. "I lost my own child 6 months ago. On the refugee transport from Earth, I still—" She gestured vaguely at herself. "Nobody wants a fat alien, sir. But I can feed the baby." The infant's cries had become desperate, primal. Harry looked down at his daughter, then back at Akim. In that moment, she saw everything in his eyes, the grief, the fear, the bone-deep exhaustion of a man who had been fighting alone for too long. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Akim, I'm Harry." He took a shaky breath. Can you really help her?" "Let me try." Harry hesitated only a moment before passing the bundle to her. The baby was tiny, her face red from crying, her little fists clenched in fury and hunger. Akim cradled her expertly, and something inside her, something that had been broken since the transport, began to mend. "I'll need somewhere private," she said. Harry nodded frantically and led her to a small waiting room. The aliens in the employment center watched them go with expressions ranging from confusion to disgust. Akim didn't care. 20 minutes later, the waiting room was silent except for the soft sounds of a contented infant feeding. Harry sat across from Akim, his head in his hands, shoulders shaking with relief. "I didn't know what else to do," he whispered. "Everyone I hired couldn't handle her. The Centaurian nanny said human infants were too demanding. The Andromedan insisted we switch to formula, but Emma just got sicker. The agency stopped returning my calls." "Human babies are demanding," Akim said softly, looking down at little Emma's peaceful face. "We're one of the few species that's completely helpless at birth. We need constant care, constant feeding, constant holding. Other species find it excessive." My wife understood. Harry's voice broke. She would have known what to do. They sat in silence, two humans far from home, bound by grief and the tiny life between them. Finally, Emma finished feeding and drifted into sleep. Akim carefully burped her and wrapped her snugly. When she looked up, Harry was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "You said you lost a child," he said quietly. "A daughter. She was 4 months old." "The transport," Akim swallowed hard. "Life support failure in Section D. They saved most of us." I'm sorry. So am I. Harry stood and paced the small room. I can't offer you much. Standard wages, a room in my quarters on the station. It's not glamorous work. Akim's heart skipped. You're offering me a position? Emma needs you. I need... He ran a hand through his hair. I can't do this alone anymore. And you're the first person in 3 weeks who's been able to calm her down. So yes. Stay. Please. Akim looked down at the sleeping baby in her arms, felt the weight of her, the warmth. For the first time since the transport, since losing everything, she felt purpose settle over her shoulders like a familiar cloak. Yes, she said simply. I'll stay. Harry's relief was palpable. He sagged against the wall, and for a moment, Akim saw him clearly, not as the desperate father who'd burst through the doors, but as a man trying to honor his wife's memory by keeping their daughter alive, trying to be enough when the whole galaxy seemed designed for him to fail. Thank you, he breathed. In the months that followed, the station's residents would watch the unusual household with curiosity. The single human father, the fat human maid, and the thriving human infant. In a galaxy that saw humanity as weak, inefficient, and excessively emotional, they were a quiet rebellion, because humans understood something the rest of the galaxy didn't. That survival wasn't about being the strongest or the most efficient. It was about showing up for each other when everything else fell apart. It was about staying,